2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
Our in-laws are toxic. How do we handle that? What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast. I'm Brandon.
I'm Tyler. We're brothers.
We're therapists.
We're not afraid of your questions.
So bring it.
It's a great question, Brandon. This is going to be a fun one today. But before we do that, we're going to jump in and share our review for the week. This one says, relatable. This podcast is for everyone. This podcast is like Dave Ramsey or Car Talk or any show that seems specific by its title and general subject matter, but it's actually universal and relatable to everyone. I usually listen to podcasts while doing an activity alone, but I feel like I've connected with real people and real problems on a deep level when I listen to the Therapy Brothers.
Wow.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Hey, Dave Ramsey, we're right in there with all of them,
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad we could be helpful, and we'll continue doing what we're doing. So.
Oh man, it's been so fun, Brent. I was just thinking the other day while I was just kind of in between some sessions at my other practice, how much time I actually think about doing this just because I really enjoy doing it with you.
Yeah.
We don't get to see each other all that much because we live a couple hours away from each other. And this is really one of the highlights of my weeks. I really look forward to it. So grateful that we're able to do it.
I think it helps us as therapists, and then come together as brothers and just connect as brothers, but also help with our burnout as therapists to process some stuff together, work through some concepts, get down to some truths, and the awesome silver lining to all of that is we get to share it with other people as well. So it's just been good all the way around, and let's just keep it going. So we got an awesome question today.
Yeah.
Tyler, have you ever the years of counseling, have you ever come across a couple or a family where the in-laws are a problem?
Did you say years or days? Yeah. What do they say? What do they say that if we're like, the research shows that the top 3 fights in most marriages are sex, money, and the in-laws?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So we're just hitting one of the top 3 today. That's all.
But you know who doesn't have any problem with their in-laws? Are our spouses, right? Because our family's just the kind of perfect.
Awesome.
Family.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we're therapists, we know everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the beauty of things, is that when you get, if we look at marriage from the perspective that each of us coming into the marriage is going to be in some ways a mirror image of all of the other person's flaws that they get to work on until they die, then it would make sense that the system that we came from isn't going
Real
to really sit well
It really
with
flushes
who
it
we
out.
are. Yeah.
It
Right.
really, really flushes it
Right.
out.
It actually really just
Yes.
offers a lot of beautiful opportunities at being able to see life in a different way and see relationships in a different way. So
Yeah.
why don't I read this question, Brandon? It's
The question has some really specific things about the in-laws that they're dealing with, and I think there's a lot of talking points in there. So let's
sure.
break it down.
Yeah, we'll talk some general things, but I think we can get to some of these specifics. So it says, my husband and I are not sure how to handle our family situation. My in-laws are really good parents and grandparents. Physically, they are wonderful. They always have our backs. They're there to lend a helping hand. They enjoy spending time with us. They're great with teaching our kids new skills, etc. Emotional connection is a totally different story. First, there is the fact that they cannot go deep and have meaningful connecting, listening, and sharing conversations. It's often about food, other sports, people, etc. There is no vulnerability, no talk about feelings, etc. An even bigger concern is the communication. My in-laws fight with each other a lot in front of my husband and my children and myself. They use a lot of aggressive communication, yelling, blaming, attacking, gaslighting, etc. It's borderline abusive and very uncomfortable to be around. Throughout my husband's recovery, he's learned how significantly these issues impacted him. He would turn to pornography as a way to escape the fighting and numb the pain. Both my husband and I have tried to address these issues. First, we expressed our intentions and shared that we'd love to create deeper emotional connections with them. Also, without placing blame, we've shared with them how these things impacted the addiction. We've been honest and direct, no minimizing or mincing words, but done it in a loving, respectful way. We explained how uncomfortable it makes all of us feel about their being around their fighting. We shared how our children are even voicing that they don't want to spend time with them because they fight all the time. We set boundaries and stated that if the fighting happens in front of us, we will ask them to stop. And if it continues, we'll remove ourselves and ask them to leave or ask them to leave. We've even mentioned that we may need to start spending less time with them if need be. My question is, where do we go from here? We love my in-laws and value all the good parts of them. We really want to maintain a relationship with them, but I know this behavior is far from harmless. It's hurt my husband. It makes me uncomfortable. It's hurting our kids. My 7-year-old literally lays on the floor crying, saying she doesn't want to be around their fighting. Part of us feels that we shouldn't keep our kids or ourselves in a bubble. We need to build up our resiliency and learn to set inner and outer boundaries. But another part of us wonders that if they are unwilling to respect our verbal and even physical boundaries, maybe it's healthier to limit our time and eliminate unsupervised time with our kids, since that we're not there to put the boundaries in place. We wanted to get the expert's opinion on the subject. Thanks.
Okay, so first off, Tyler, before we answer the question on where they go from there, I've just got to point out how healthy she sounds in what she wrote there.
Oh, bullet points. Yeah.
Yeah. Bullet point it for us, Tyler. What are some
Well,
things that you heard that were really healthy
yeah,
about her and what that she's doing?
doing a great job. I mean, they basically followed almost a roadmap of how you'd want to address these things, right? First, they've gone and done some thinking about how it's affected them individually, affected their kids, affected their marriage, affected, her husband who grew up in that family system. And then they've gone and they've actually,
And by the way, it sounds like the husband, I don't know for sure, but the husband is willing to see the dysfunction even though he comes from it.
oh yeah, it sounds like they're a united front here for
so
sure.
he's breaking generational patterns,
Right.
like we talked about before. So that's good.
Right. And then just the way she phrased things, you can tell that she's done a lot of work around this. Without placing blame, we shared with them how their behaviors impacted the addiction and how it's affecting our kids. And then they've gone from that to now looking at some more strong boundaries that are saying, hey, if you guys fight, we're going to leave, or we're going to ask you to leave.
And she talks about internal and external boundaries. So she understands what boundaries are, having internal and external boundaries, communicating to them their discomfort around it. So many. Another thing is, I heard in that question, a lot of positive regard, seeing the good of
Oh
her.
yeah, it's so amazing that we live in this world where it's such a black and white thing where my in-laws are the devil, and instead she's here saying there's so much good about the in-laws that we don't want to give it up, but we've got to do something about
Yeah.
the struggle we're having here with the conflict.
Yeah. So just huge props to you. I can tell you've done a lot of recovery work, and that recovery work. This is what when I talk about recovery work, I'm talking about, a couple who's dealing with betrayal trauma or addiction in their relationship or whatever. The principles of healing start to spill over into other parts in your life and bless you. So they spill over into how boundaried you are at work in a healthy way, how you can handle your difficult in-laws, or really look at your life purpose. Like it really starts to spill over. So sounds like the trial or the struggle that she's had in her life with her husband's sex addiction is actually really blessing them right now, and now they're seeing the dysfunction because they're not living in it so much that they've, and I'm not saying this in an arrogant way, but they've risen above um the level of emotional health,
The old pattern.
an old pattern that the in-laws are living in, and so they recognize it now, and so now it's hard to continue the same old relationship that they've always had because they've risen above that. So that is a tough position to be in, because you still love these people, you still want a relationship with these people, but you're recognizing the toxicity. So Tyler, any thoughts on where to go from here?
Yeah, I guess the first thought that came to my mind just after having read the question and hearing all of those good things that you just pointed out is to maybe take a look at some perspective and realize that a lot of what you're doing already is probably going to be the process of continued doing. It's not, when we set boundaries, when we decide to make some changes, it's not like we go one time and we sit down with someone and say, okay, here's the new boundaries. And then it's all of a sudden just instantly done. It's more of this is going to be a constant work in progress. I don't even know if we've got it totally right yet, but I know we're doing something different, and we're going to continue to tweak it and work it and follow through on it and probably have multiple conversations because the relationship sounds like it's worth fighting for, while at the same time we are going to continue to work on finding the right level of health so that we can have the good as much as we can possibly get it without having, paying the price of having that conflict that comes up, that to the point that our grandkids are saying we don't want to go see grandma and grandpa.
Are you ready for my blunt moment of the day?
Go for it. You love that.
Yeah, here we go. So um the reality is that the in-laws, the parents, they've been in these unhealthy patterns of attachment and unhealthiness in their relationship. That unhealthiness started before they were even married. It's their work that they need to do in order to be in a healthy relationship and to create harmony and peace around them is extensive, and it's deep, and it's a lot. They've been in that relationship for a long time, and they've been dysfunctional like that for a long time. So you sitting them down and saying, we don't like it, please don't do it, the chances of that shifting or changing is very, very, very low in that moment. Oh, they confronted us, they don't like how we fight, we're just going to change that. Now, what they might do is try to hide how dysfunctional they are, um, or try not to do it in front of your kids, but the energy in their home is still going to be it's still going to be contentious.
Which
And
would be
you're
good. I mean, they'd be making an effort at that point, even though it wouldn't be the full change.
sure, they're making an effort. However, my point is this: is um, what you're asking them to do, they're probably so unconscious of and so just ingrained in what they're doing, it's probably not going to change just because you ask them to change it. So with saying that, what I would say is this: is you may have to grieve the loss of that relationship as you think that it should be. Okay. So they're grandma and grandpa. So you have all these shoulds going on. Grandma and grandpa there should be harmony there. They should bake the kids cookies, smile, and love our kids, right? Well, yeah, grandma and grandpa aren't that way. So what does that mean? You love your in-laws. Well, you might have to love them differently. Maybe you spend more time with them one-on-one. Going to lunch with one of them or the other one of them. Maybe you just shift certain things so that you say, okay, the relationship is actually going to be a different relationship than what they thought it should be and what we thought it should be. It can still be good. It can still be connected, but it's going to be different. And that's where those boundaries come in. I have these boundaries where maybe we don't go over to their dinner every Sunday night with the kids, because that toxic energy is there and we don't want to go there. Right. Do you see what I'm saying, Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. I think that's, and what you're getting at here, if they're asking I think what you're answering to their question is, what is our next step? You're kind of getting to, I think the principle here is doing the grieving of the relationship that you have to do to get to a place of acceptance of what the relationship actually is and what the relationship is likely going to continue to be. And I look at it like, I look at people, we all have our own kind of, I look at it like it's a funnel of relationships, and we have the outer level, which is just people you pass in the street. And then you've got the next level down, which is kind of your acquaintances. Then you got people, at church and stuff. And then you got your friends, and you got your best friends, and you got your inner circle, right? Well, most of us, we want to put our family at the inner circle. We want it to be there where it's like we can share everything. There's total support all the time. That's what we want. Like, we're kind of wired for that. In reality, in some ways, when you can get even your parents to the right levels, then you can keep your heart at peace with them and love them and feel safe with them while still enjoying the parts of that level that are there to enjoy. Right. So
I want to correct one thing you said. Get your parents to the right levels, because I think that's you can't get them there.
No, I'm saying move. I'm saying internally. Like,
gotcha.
I have to internally come to that place of acceptance that you're talking about.
I see what you're saying.
Where I'm saying I'm living in the should be inner circle with my parents as if it's the case.
I gotcha.
And now I need to move them into my funnel. That's
so
what I was saying.
What you're saying is understand the level that they're actually at.
Right.
And then compared to the level that you wish that they were, or the expectation that you have, or the should that you have of where they should be.
And love them at that level that feels like you can now stick to your values, where you can now lean in with love and appreciation and gratitude instead of have this like resentment or this conflict or whatever else is going on.
Yeah.
And that takes work. And that's an internal wrestle, I think, that most of us don't like to do, because especially it relates to our families.
Well, I would call it grief.
Yes.
I would call it, you're grieving the loss of something. You wish that something was there, but you don't have it. It's not in your life. So you come to some acceptance. So you're grieving that loss and coming to an acceptance of this is how that relationship actually is.
Right. Which means that in this case, they might go down for a Sunday dinner, let's say, and in a half hour's worth of time, they might be turning around to drive home after saying, hey, we got good to see grandma and grandpa. And when they started fighting, we left. Right. Like,
yeah.
Because that's the boundary that they've got in place and that they set.
But I think that we make this sound maybe easier than it is, because if you put them in this, you talk about this funnel, if you put them in the right level, what you're doing is you're asserting what's in your control in terms of your healthy boundaries. Like, this is where we see the relationship. This is how much connection we can have. They probably have different expectations.
Yes.
And so they're going to kind of fight against being at that level. Look, we want to be deeper. We want to be closer in. How dare you leave, so soon? Or why are you being mean to us? Or how come you're always judgmental of us, or whatever? And they'll want to push down to that level. And that's where I think healthy communication and honesty can take place. Of, look, we love you. You're so important to us, but we also feel this toxic energy, and the fighting affects our kids. And so that's why. And I'm not going to beat around the bush and tell you, everything's hunky dory and you're right there next to me and we're as close as can be. No, we're not as close as can be, but there's a reason. And, if you can work on that, great. Our relationship could shift. But at this point, this is where it's at.
Right. And then being willing to accept that they might say, well, I don't think I should have to work on it to be close to you.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then you being able to say, I get that. And that's why I'm not forcing you to. That's why we're going to do what we're going to do. And that's just the way things are going to be. So
Well, and this is where drama just goes nuts, where it's like they talk to the other siblings and they just like build this case against you. And that's where can you still hold firm to those boundaries despite all that drama going on?
right. And can you hold firm to those things without getting sucked into more resentment or more drama yourself? Right.
Yes.
It's can you keep that sense of peace? And the way that you do that is that you continually check in with your own value system, and then you might get your boundaries wrong a few times before you figure it out. But if you always come back to your values, you're going to be able to kind of like look yourself in the mirror at night and go, okay, like I get it. Mom and dad are upset, or brother and sister are really peeved that we're not coming to the next family thing or whatever. That's okay. Like they are all seeing it from their own lens, and we're seeing it from our lens, and that's going to be all right.
Well, and you could even twist that, whether you're twisting it or not, and say, wow, they really love us. They want us there. They care about us.
Well, exactly.
I appreciate that. So you could hate them for that drama that they're in, or you could appreciate that they're really trying to be closer to you, right?
Yeah.
So tricky with in-laws. But it sounds like she's handling it well, and I it's kind of like the question we got about generational patterns of healing, where he asked the question, and in the question there was so much already healthy stuff going on, and so much of the answer was just stay consistent, like do what you're doing. Stay consistent with these in-laws of yours. Can be consistent in loving them, appreciating them, being boundaried with them, being honest with them. Or you can move to another state. So.
Right. Which seems like most families prefer that option instead of actually addressing
sometimes just bail. Like
it's like, hey, we're out of here, and we don't have a phone number anymore. Like, right.
Yeah.
But this one's an interesting one because there is so much good there. It's like this isn't your typical in-law question. Like they're here saying we really do want to try to salvage this and we want it to work. And my guess is that it sounds like there's not a lot of conflict between them and the in-laws. It's more about the in-laws aren't really like addressing the conflict between each other. And just maybe make a suggestion that if I was reading this properly and you have a good relationship with your in-laws, when they come to you and they start asking you those questions that Brandon mentioned, like, hey, we don't feel like we're as close to you as we used to be, or we want to be more connected, be ready and willing not to just say, as soon as you do this, then we'll be more connected, but be ready to approach it in terms of a problem solving thing where it's like, hey, these resources have helped, these books have really helped us, or you should listen to the Therapy Brothers podcast, or, like whatever it is. Be ready and willing to say, we want it too. Like, we're not closing you out.
Let's work on this.
We're opening the door to better health. And at least in our estimation, we believe you feel a lot of the same things. And then you leave the ball in their court with something more than just like, sucks to be you. It's more like, oh, here's maybe some options or thoughts or ideas. And
right.
And that might be something that could help us.
Right. I love that, Tyler. I'd like to talk a little bit about my in-laws. So I gotta tread lightly here a little bit, but so my in-laws, and I am, so I can make a point. My in-laws are a little bit. There's what's called the family circumplex model. You can look it up you can Google it, you can find it, and it talks about extremes. It talks about family adaptability and family cohesion, and the extremes with that. And so there's enmeshed family systems and there's disconnected family systems. There's rigid
at the extremes.
at the extremes. And that's cohesion. Adaptability, there's rigid family systems and there's chaotic family systems. And those are the two extremes. In between rigid and chaotic is structured and flexible. So that's kind of in the middle. That's healthy. In between disconnected and enmeshed is separated and connected, separated and connected. So my in-laws, I would say in terms of cohesion, they are more toward the separated side of things than they are toward the enmeshed side of things. So they're not disconnected. They're just separated, and they kind of allow individuals to be individuals. You know, if somebody in their family got a nose ring or did something different or whatever, got a big tattoo on their forehead, like they wouldn't care. Like it'd be, oh, interesting. What that you went and got that. That's great. Whatever.
Do your thing.
You know? Yeah. So as an in-law, it's awesome. I love that family system. And this is why is I don't feel them behind my back thinking I should be just like them, trying to force me into being something. I can come from a completely different system than who they are and come into their system and they'll accept me as an individual. So I really appreciate that. And the point that I'm trying to make is the opposite of that. An enmeshed family system can be very, very, very difficult for an in-law. When a family, so the cohesion is too much, they're too close. They all have to think alike. They all have to do the same things. There's a lot of gossip. You know, somebody can't think
it's pretty
differently
tight.
than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, bring a Republican into a Democrat enmeshed family or a Democrat into a Republican enmeshed family. Yikes. Like that don't work. Right.
Yeah. They're not coming to many family parties.
Yeah. And it's toxic. And what's interesting is in getting out of enmeshment is all about boundaries. It's all about separating and making boundaries. And it's a really tough position to be in as the person in the enmeshed family, married to an in-law, coming in and saying, this is unhealthy. You get put in the middle where there's a ton of pressure from the family to enmesh, to be what you're supposed to be. But now there's this pressure from the spouse to say, we need some boundaries with your family.
We need to be separate a little bit.
We need some separation here because there's over cohesion here. We need to separate off a little bit here. And it can be a really interesting dynamic. And I see it all the time in my work. I hear about it all the time. Enmeshed families are very common.
Right. Well, Brandon, I think it's interesting that you were using your example because I think both of us married spouses who came maybe from at least the other side of the spectrum than where we were raised. And we were raised in terms of that family cohesion unit, we were pretty far to the end of enmeshed.
Yeah.
You pretty much, if I were to tell you something, somehow Aunt Pumpkin down in Farron, Utah would hear about it before like I could go upstairs and tell my wife. Like that's the family that we came from, right? So we came from a very, what is it? We have all that Greek blood in us. And we literally live like the big fat Greek wedding life. Like everybody gets together, cousins, everyone's together all the time, which by the way, has a lot of strengths to it too.
Absolutely.
And so that's the idea is that as we move closer and closer to the middle of that spectrum, we could still be in a connected family system, the enmeshment, and it would still be different than the separated. And that adjustment is the hard part, right?
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it is that every one of us is going to come from a slightly different system that comes from a largely different part of that scale. And I think a lot of the times you'll see this in our therapy that if you were to go and like do the family cohesion assessment, you'd see that partners often align themselves with somebody who's on the side of the scale from where they're at.
Yep. Yeah, which causes some conflict, but which is interesting. Now you're creating your own family system and what is it gonna be, right?
Right.
So,
And then our kids are gonna go join somebody else's family system,
and then and you know what? You'll be the in-laws.
I'm gonna be the in-law.
You're about 5 years away from being.
Oh
an in-law,
man, don't
Tyler.
even make me think of
So,
that. It's too soon. I'm not that
yeah.
old.
Yeah. Well, and I think looking at it from that side of things, as the in-law, I've thought about this a lot. My daughter brings a boy home, or my son brings a girl home. Like, I'm going to work really, really hard to try and empower and love and respect their boundaries and respect their differences and the different family systems they come from, because I get it. And so if there are any in-laws listening to this episode, think about it from that side of the fence as well. How do you deal with your son-in-laws or your daughter-in-laws or whatever? So
Great
this has
thought,
been
Brandon.
good, Tyler.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you for the question. I think that was a great question.
Yeah. All right, you guys, if you liked this episode, if you have in-laws, share it with them. And
that'll be a great start.
Yeah. Hey guys, I want you to listen to this. I'm not trying to send you any messages here, but listen to this. Yeah. But hope you enjoyed it. Please share it, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.